Hey everyone, it's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I was going to wait a little bit to drop this video just because I like to wait till games finalize, but not much is going to change. As you can see, we have some basketball ones in progress. We did get the Magic. To me, that was just a very trappish line. This one, we have hedge potential, so if you were on this one with me and you're not loving the Clippers, you can always go ahead and hedge it. It'll be about a $10 to $15 profit, but I would suggest just holding it. You can also play some live action too. All the other ones closed out. We got USC here. I bought that half point, like I said. So we got them as a third leg, seeing how that finishes out. But we picked up 200 in the last day or two. And between these games, as they finish out, it'll be like another two. This one, I never marked anything early, but I mean, they would need like 50 points in the next 5 minutes or so. I just don't see it happening, but it could. But this one's looking good, and I haven't really looked at Colorado State yet. But I wanted to go into, and I'm going to go more into the college, what I believe to be what they're setting up. I think USC is a good example. But for now, I wanted to go into the NFL picks for tomorrow, since obviously you have all my NBA picks. So the ones that jumped out to me as either traps or something of that nature is right here is the first one. I love the Patriots here. I think a lot of people are going to see the Jets with the 3.5 and just be all over it, which makes sense to me. And the fact that the Jets have already lost to the Patriots, I think people are assuming it's going to kind of bounce back and forth. In this case, I don't think that happens. I think they're going to try and push this, again, the NFC, AFC beast, where theoretically the entire divisions can get in. I don't see it happening. So what we'll do is, if we're to have a loss, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the Patriots, the next leg. So for now, it's going to be sequence 168. And I'm not going to buy any points, just for the simple fact I'm pretty sure Vegas knows people are going to be buying points. And a lot of these games, you'll see this. So everybody will rush out to buy points, pay an extra 15% in juice. And who knows, maybe it is a 3-point game. But like I said, over the long term, doing that, you do lose value. So sometimes the logical part of me picks and not the part that knows is rigged. So we're definitely taking New England. We're fading the Jets. Just want to make that clear. New England minus 3.5. And someone did bring up the fact that all these teams in this division can be 6 wins, so the 6-6-6, which could be interesting. And then the other reason I find it interesting is the coin flip guy. If you haven't seen him, he basically flipped a coin, which predicted every Jets game this season. And so far, I think he's 9-0, whatever their record is. He hasn't missed. And the Patriots beating them is his next pick. So I do find that interesting. Then you go down the list a little bit. You got the Bills, obviously, which is going to be in neutral territory. Now, look at this one. Here's one where I think Washington wins the game because, I think they really want to push them into the playoffs. That being said, the 3-point spread is a very, very tricky one. That also being said, outside of that win against the Eagles, not much has indicated that Washington is a great team this year. So I do think that Washington, even though, like I said last week, they had that nice win against the Eagles, they can explain away Washington covering here. Now, 3 is a little light, but again, I saw the Texans getting 3 against better teams. So I'm not shocked to see Washington here. So I am going to go ahead and take Washington as a first sequence. Again, normally I'd look at it and say maybe it's a trap because after that performance, Washington, in my opinion, should be bigger favorites. But you have to also consider that most of the public sees both these teams as basement dweller teams and Houston at home. And a lot of them might just take them for the upset or to cover. Washington has looked pretty bad this year despite their record. So I do like them. I've also noticed a lot of times this year Washington has been giving or getting exactly 3. Earlier this year against the Cowboys, they were getting exactly 3. And, of course, I was all over that 3 thinking, okay, well, it's got to be a trap. There's no way everyone's going to be on the Cowboys. But sure enough, it wasn't. Washington just lost. In this case, I think it's basically the same thing. Washington isn't not a great team, but I do think they're going to push Heineke. I think it's more the narrative, so I like Washington. And I'm just looking over the 1 o'clock games. Here's another one. I just do not understand this for the life of me. Now, here's the difference in my opinion between a as advertised game and a trap. You had Washington, who it kind of makes sense with a 3. Here, the Giants at home against the Lions to be given 3 makes absolutely no sense at all. So I think they might announce an injury or something. But to me, it's very reminiscent of the Seahawks. If you remember the Seahawks, they recently, and yes, they're a better team, I do get that. But I don't think the other Giants should have been underdogs against them. And they were, so we had the Seahawks minus the 3, and of course we won that by exactly a point because there is no reason the Giants should have been given those odds. So here I do like the Lions with the 3 points. Too much of the public is going to be on the Giants. It's not like the Redskins, the Commanders, where you're not going to have a ton of people watching the game. Here you're going to have, in my opinion, a good bit of money because people watch the Giants, and it's not 2 crappy teams. You have a good team versus a team that's basically considered garbage. So to me, it makes, and again, I think Aaron being tied for worst in the division does make sense. It stands to what's been going on with him this year. So as far as the 1 o'clock games, let me see. I might go into a few others. I know a lot of people were saying this game they thought was a trap. I don't see a trap. Chicago's been bad this year, but Fields can get it going whenever he wants. Atlanta, they have been good this year, relatively at least. I think they were going to have a much worse year. They can be 5-6 with a win, basically even with Tom. So I would lean towards Falcons to get up there with the Bucks to make that a more even matchup. But it's not one I'm running out of my way to pick. So I'm going to stay away from that one. And I know a lot of people want this one as well, Browns-Bills. Again, another interesting one. It's neutral. You have Allen, quote, banged up. And I just don't see a reason with these giant spreads, unless I see a narrative, if it's prime time maybe. But in this game, I'm not going to be running on my way to play it. So if you really want to know who you think I'm going to go with, just let me know and I will give you my opinion. This one, I actually thought about it a couple times, and I do like Indianapolis plus the 7. A couple reasons. I think they want to establish that the Eagles, at the beginning of the season, they were pushing them as like clearing away the best team in the NFC. I think now they've kind of put a chink in their armor, showing that they're still a good team, but they're not a runaway team. They have a record the same as the Vikings. So for this one, I'm going to buy the 0.5 point, and I do think that the Colts, with Jeff Saturday now at the helm, might play better than people expect, even though he shouldn't. He has no coaching experience. But I do like the Colts with the touchdown here, so it'll be like 30 at least, buying that 0.5 point. Just because they lost last week, I don't think people are going to immediately start fading the Eagles. Let's not forget, people aren't all thinking like we do. So you're still going to have a lot of people thinking that was a fluke game, thinking 6.5 is not that much, the Colts suck, taking the Eagles, thinking that they can pull off that upset. So that's the other one I really like for the 1 o'clock games. Now, we do have Rams-Saints, which I've been eyeing. A Saints win, and again, they can still theoretically set up some kind of possible matchup with the Bucs and the Saints if and only if Jameis Winston's back, because it makes no sense without him. I also think, even though the Rams have been bad this year, I don't think the defending Super Bowl champs, who still have, again, basically, now you have no Cooper Kupp, makes a big difference, but basically the same team, same defense, I don't think they should be underdogs against the Saints. So I think this is a trap game, and I do like the Saints here, minus the 2.5. Now, again, Cooper Kupp is out. And again, for any of these games, we can go ahead and make them a second leg. These are 1 o'clock games, but say some of our later games tonight don't finish out perfect, we can always go ahead and make a game we like that I think is really favorable, like the Lions here, plus 3. It just looks like a trap. We can always make that like a leg too. So here's 172, and on this one I do like New Orleans to cover the 2.5. I think a lot of people are going to be on the Rams just because they're the Rams, and it just makes sense for me with how bad the NFC South is that the the Saints get this win, more so than the Rams, who I did the math, I crunched the analytics. It's going to be almost impossible for them to get in the playoffs. So their story's done. This is just a great game to get the public. You know my over-under metrics, so I'm not going to go into every single one of them. You know, you have teams like the Broncos that I think are going to go over. But I'll go into the 4 o'clock games as well. I'm still thinking over the Vikings game. You know I like the Broncos because I think Russell still has some story to be told. But since we have more 4, usually signs we only have 2 4s. We got 3 of them, and I like all 3. But I want to look at the metrics first. So first thing in the morning, I will have the 4s out. And then, of course, we'll hit the 8. And just let me know. I was thinking about going live tomorrow, either for the early games, because we have more early games than later games, or I can go live for the night games, Chiefs, Chargers, whatever time frame you guys want. Just let me know. I think it would be cool, and we can see the game in real time. I'm even trying to set something up so in a way that's perfectly fine without copyright. You guys will be able to see the games with me, where I can kind of flip. So hopefully I can get that supported and see if that works. But just let me know in the comments or something, what time, if you would tune in, we could watch the game together. We basically do that in the Discord, and that's where I'll post a lot of the over-under picks and stuff that, they just take a long time to go into every one of them. It's a pretty simple metric, though. If the team's doing horrible on the over, I like them. It's really no different than the against the spread. So that's what I have for tomorrow's games. Sometimes we'll have a couple early basketball games, so let me see. We do have... none before. I'd be doing a video anyway, and you best believe I'm going to be doing Knicks Suns. We'll be going into that game, and I'll have that video up definitely in time. And again, you can always check my Discord because I post everything there as well. But yeah, we're doing well, in my opinion. Like I said, Hofstra is almost a lock to finish under, which is another one we'll close out if that game hasn't ended already, which it looks like it might have. It was like 137 or something, and last I checked, it wasn't even at 100, and the game was almost over, so I can't imagine that game finished over. So that's just, again, another one. Yeah, that one finished at 100 and, 124, so it was like 130 something, so we got that one by double-digit points. And USC is still in play. We still have basketball in play, so we'll have to see how they finish out. The Wolves were good. Like I said, we can always fade with the Clippers if we need to. We can always go ahead and fade, and I'm not going to personally. But if you're feeling like I don't know, you can go ahead and you can fade. That's why I took. If you remember what I said in my last video, I specifically said I'm not taking Minnesota minus the 4 because they opened with the Sixers as a favorite, and I knew something was up. And sure enough, 3.5. Sure enough, that's what happened. So we dodged a bullet there. This is what I mean by exposing these metrics. No pun intended, but we almost got clipped. But instead, we picked the clips, and I think we're going to, with this money line, finish it out strong. So just another example of why I believe just the way we approach games is going to win us money in the long run. It would have been very easy to take the Wolves on minus the 3.5, bought it down to 3 even and just pushed. But I know how they work. I know how these metrics work. And I knew that once they switched those lines, it was going to fall within 2-3 points. So, you can watch my last video, but the NBA one. But a 3-point victory. I should have done a prop bet because a 3-point victory was literally my prediction. But that's why we went with the money line. So we'll be doing the same tomorrow if we see anything suspicious. I think the Blazers finish off strong, just my opinion. But we'll see what happens there. And, USC is really the last one, third leg. That'd be nice to finish off as well. But once again, doing great with basketball. 2-0 so far. The only one we didn't play, just like the Lakers yesterday. Good thing we didn't because we would have missed it with the Hawks. They were giving 5. I think the Clips come through, and I think the Blazers come through. So let me say again. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover any game I didn't, and I will do the rest